facts. My name is Prachi. Every single panda in a zoo around the world is technically the property of the government of China, and this is a video containing my general advice for starting a no-buy, low-buy beauty budget or any sort of just habit change in general. I'm back! But as you can probably hear from my voice, I am not doing better than ever. I have been sick throughout the entire holiday season, and although my throat is still kind of killing me, I have downed some Dayquil, I have sucked on some Cepacol, I have my water ready to go. So please get ready for my absolutely unsolicited advice on starting a no-buy, a low-buy, any sort of conscious consumerism project, or quite frankly, any real habit change in general, because all a no-buy really is a behavioral change. And so the advice that I'm giving, although some of it is like super specific to a no-buy, a bunch of it can be applied to any sort of like habit change that you want to enact. But I'm also going to link up into the cards Hannah Louise Poston's own advice video because it's great at some of the more nitty-gritty stuff for going on a no-buy year. And because I don't really want to repeat a bunch of her information, I'm just going to link her video up in the cards, and you should definitely check it out as a resource if you'd like to start a no-buy year. Now, I am ultra committed to getting this video out before 2019 ends because this is peak resolutions time. However, if you are one of those people who are watching this video after 2020 has already started, like it's January 5th or something, don't worry. Everything I'm saying in this video is still applicable to you. And in fact, the very first principle that I talk about is for you specifically, all y'all who are watching this after the new year has already begun. So, given that great segue, let's get it. So, I have three sort of overarching philosophical almost principles in a sense to help guide a low buy, no buy, or any sort of a habit change. And then I also have three sort of more like nitty-gritty survival tips specific to kind of doing something like a no buy or a low buy. Here's the first principle, and this is for all of you watching this after the new year has already started. There is no such thing as the perfect time or the perfect moment to start something. This is something that has taken me a really long time to learn because I am a consummate perfectionist. In me, perfectionism functioned for a very long time as a paralytic. It prevented me from taking action to change my life. So here's what I mean, and let's see if you can relate. Let's say that it's like Thursday afternoon at like 5:30, and I'm struck with the thought that I should maybe start going to the gym. My perfectionist brain suddenly decides that Thursday afternoon at 5:30 is like a weird, imperfect, messy way to start a habit. And in fact, Friday's not really great because it's like the tail end of a week. I think the best time to change my habit and really start going to the gym is Monday morning, and the fresh start to a new week. That is the perfect moment in which to begin going to the gym. I'm the kind of person who, if I have the idea to do something on December 30th, I'll decide to wait until January 1st to really begin implementing that change. Because January 1st, the new year, that's the perfect moment, the cleanest moment, the right moment to change. I've spent a long time trying to figure out why it is I'm like this, and I've come to realize that it's because I have this like mistaken assumption in my head, this like falsehood that says that unless a thing starts perfectly, it's doomed to failure. Did any of y'all think like this? I didn't even realize I was thinking like this till I really like stopped, took a step back, and I was like, why am I always waiting for things to start at the right moment? And it's because I think for some reason that if I want something to go perfectly, or even just to go well, it had better start perfectly at just the right time. And that, my folks, is the scam of the century. Would you like some proof? Here you go. This no-buy that I'm currently on, this no-buy which represents the most successful behavioral change I have ever implemented so far in my entire life, I did not start it on January 1st or the 1st of a month or the 1st of a week or even the start of a new day. I made the decision to go on a no-buy, and at the same time I made the decision to start my YouTube channel on Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 at 3:27 p.m. I remember the time because I wrote it down in a journal. Not a single piece of that timing was perfect, And yet, do you want to know something? On both the no-buy and the YouTube front, those two major decisions that I made at that imperfect time on a Tuesday afternoon, both of them are going really well. Want proof? If we look at one of the biggest goals of my no-buy year, I wanted to stop using buying makeup and actually just shopping in general as a coping mechanism for when I felt stressed or sad or unproductive. Guess what, folks? 2019 was one of the most stressful years of my life. I have had to deal with not only just my run-of-the-mill ADHD, but also major depressive disorder, really terrible burnout, grief and loss, and physical illness. And yet, I have not used shopping as a way to cope. Instead of buying shit to avoid dealing with my problems and mask my feelings, I've actually been going to see therapists for my mental health issues and actual doctors for my physical health issues. Also, this YouTube channel, which I started making videos for really impulsively on that February 5th, I thought at most 5 people would subscribe to it and watch my videos, and yet here I am having hit 1,000 subscribers. So I consider this to be a thing that's also going really well, despite it having started really messily at absolutely the wrong time. The point I'm trying to say is it all turned out okay in the end. You don't have to wait for the stars to all align and for it to be just the right time and just the perfect moment in order for you to begin changing your habits around makeup or shopping or anything really. You can start now. You can start imperfectly. You're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It really doesn't matter how you start. It matters that you commit to seeing it through, no matter how you began, no matter when you began. So please don't get discouraged and wait around because you feel like you've missed your opportunity to go on a no-buy year or a low-buy month or start whatever other project or habit you've been meaning to start. You haven't missed out on anything. Shoot your shot because there's no such thing as the perfect time. The time to start is whenever the hell you feel like it. All you have to do is commit. Do I sound like a self-help coach yet? Let's move on to the next bit. The second thing that I would advise be a guiding principle for anyone starting a no-buy, low-buy, or just any sort of a project is figure out and never forget the why of it all. A few videos back, I stated this Nietzsche quote I really like, which goes like this: "He who has a why to live for can endure almost any how." It basically means that if you know why you're doing something, you're much more likely to actually follow through and do it, even when the going gets tough and even when you feel like quitting. I've come to believe that this is just a fundamental life truth, so it definitely applies to any of you wanting to go on a no-buy or a low-buy or a beauty budget. It's in your best interest to start with why. So in the context of, let's say, a no-buy, low-buy, or beauty budget, take a step back and really think. What's going on here? Why are you doing this? Is it because you feel like you have a problem with shopping? What kind of problem? Is it that you feel like you have so many things that it's overwhelming you and stressing you out? Are you worried about waste and products expiring or going off? Are you, like me, worried that you use shopping as a way to procrastinate or cope with stress? What goals are you trying to accomplish that you're procrastinating on by shopping? Do you want to do this because you think you spend too much money? What would you rather spend that money on? Are you saving up to pay down your student loan debt, to buy a house, buy a car, or maybe you just want to be able to travel and go on a vacation to someplace you've always wanted to visit? You kind of have to get really crystal clear on why you're doing this. I would actually probably sit down and make a list and put it somewhere prominent. If you're the kind of person who carries around a planner everywhere, I would maybe write that list down on a very prominent page in your planner. If you're more of a digital person, maybe put it as a pin note on your phone. I would also highly recommend that you use the front camera of your phone to record yourself listing off and talking about why it is you want to do whatever project you're planning on doing. You don't have to post that video anywhere. It's just for you. Leave it on your phone and watch it whenever you feel tempted to break your no-buy. Watch yourself and hear yourself, your own voice, your own facial expressions, being really excited about embarking on your no buy or your low buy or your beauty budget or whatever. Listen to how you're so excited to be able to save up a bunch of money to be able to go on a trip to Portugal at the end of 2020. Because being able to like see and hear yourself, that has huge power, and it will be able to snap you out of any sort of temptation far better than any written list or even any other YouTube videos by strangers like me. There have been a bunch of times during my own no-buy year where I have just so badly wanted to quit. Like, I have been in such a horrible place and all I've wanted to do is shop. And in those moments, what I've often done is I have gone back and watched just specifically the section of my own video where I discuss my like rules and reasoning for my no-buy year. I go back and I watch the section of the video where I talk about why I'm doing this. It sort of like activates something in me that just goes, I don't want to let Prachi from February 2019 with all of her hopes and dreams and goals and ambitions down. I gotta get through this for her. Having you deliver to yourself a very clear reminder of why it is you're doing this, that's gonna help you endure the really difficult bits of your behavioral change project. Because I'm gonna be real with you, Chief, it's gonna be hard. And there are gonna be days where it's like smooth sailing and you're like, I'm having the time of my life. And then there are gonna be days where you just are like, F all of this noise, I wanna quit and die. And for those days, you really need to remember the why of it all. The third and final sort of overarching guideline that I have is set clear and personalized rules. I would recommend that you do write these rules down somewhere, whether it's like on paper in a planner or like stuck up somewhere on your room, or whether it's like on a pin note on your phone. You should have written down very, very clear, personalized rules. And here's what I mean when I say personalized rules. Because yeah, I mean personalized in that the rules should be tailored to you, but more specifically what I mean is like, don't lie to yourself. A year-long no-buy is not for everybody. Not everybody needs to go on a no-buy year, right? I had very clear reasons for wanting to go on a no-buy because I had a very, very toxic relationship with shopping. And I picked a period of a year because my habit was like so ingrained that I felt like I needed an entire year of detoxing in order to rewire my brain. That may not apply to you. You may not have a really, really toxic relationship to shopping. Again, this is why figuring out your own why is very, very important, because figuring out your why will determine what you should do and how you should do it. That is actually the thesis of this great book called Start With Why. So you need to figure out what is feasible for you. Don't lie to yourself. Don't create rules that you know you're not going to follow. If there's like one piece of advice I could give you, is like take the should out of the equation. Forget what it is you think you should be doing. Forget what it is you think other people think you should be doing. Because that is a recipe for creating a bunch of rules that you just know in your heart you're not gonna follow. And what you wanna do is you wanna create rules that you are actually 100% committed to following. Because speaking from experience as a person who used to lie to herself all the time and create rules based off what I thought I should be doing, and then ultimately break those rules because I never wanted to follow them in the first place, I wasn't really committed to following them, I would end up in this like horrible guilt-shame spiral. And then perversely, because guilt and shame are negative feelings and I felt bad, it would put me in a headspace where I just like suddenly wanted to shop more. Do not do that to yourself. Create rules that are personalized to you, that you are actually going to commit to following. If that means like a baby step, like you go on a low buy for 4 months and your low buy is that you're allowed to buy 5 things every month, and you think that that's achievable and doable and a great step down for you because actually you usually acquire 10 things a month, don't let anybody tell you anything different. Don't let anybody try to trick you into doing a no buy for like 6 months, knowing in your heart of hearts that you have no desire or need to do that. Create rules for your 4-month low buy where you're allowed to buy 5 things every month. Tailor the stuff to you, but once you tailor it to yourself, make sure that you do have very, very clear rules. Another piece of advice around building really clear rules would be think very carefully about your circumstances. So for example, in the context of a beauty budget, a no-buy or a low-buy, are you a person who receives gift cards? How are you planning on spending gift cards? Are you planning on traveling a bunch? How are you going to deal with that? Have you put in exceptions around health and safety? Because Hannah Louise Poston did, and I did too for my no-buy year. And I was actually forced to tap into one of those like health and safety rules in order to make a purchase. And I didn't feel guilt or shame or like anything crazy about going out and buying that hydrocortisone cream or the Aquaphor because I had allowed for a health and safety exemption during my no-buy year. So think really carefully about your circumstances. Also, think really carefully about your triggers. Are you a person who shops online more frequently than you do in store? Do you have a habit of like frequenting the mall when you're bored and you end up just kind of like picking up a bunch of things? What are your triggers? What causes you to shop? And a thing to possibly consider is while you're creating your rules for your no-buy year, do you want to put in any rules around how you interact with your triggers? Like maybe you're only allowed to enter the mall to actually buy something that you have put on a shopping list and it's been sitting on the list for like 3 days. I don't know. I'm just like throwing an example out there. You gotta figure out what works for you. But the absolute key to success on any sort of behavioral change, especially on something like a no-buy or a low-buy or a beauty budget, is that you want a set of ironclad, crystal clear rules, no ambiguity, that are personalized for and created by you. Not your husband, not your girlfriend, not your boyfriend, not your mom, not your sister, you. Like this is a full-blown Natasha Bedingfield unwritten situation. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. Of all the dumb nonsensical references I have ever made in my life, I think that was the worst. Alright, those are my 3 overarching guidelines or principles. Now, for those of you specifically trying to curtail shopping, whether it's like shopping for like clothes, lifestyle goods, books, skincare, makeup, hair care, whatever, I have 3 further pieces of more like nitty-gritty advice that I found ultra helpful to me. They were absolutely not as essential to like my own success as those first 3 principles, recognizing that I can change at any moment because I choose to, making sure that I had a set of like really clear rules that I was going to follow because I created them for me, and making sure I had a very clear reasoning for why I was doing it and constantly reminding myself of it so that I wouldn't like give up during hard times. Those were like foundational. If I didn't have those 3 like ideologies and principles sort of holding me down, like I would not have succeeded. These 3 are more just like icing on the cake. These just like greased the wheels and made the no-buy experience just easier to stomach and handle for me. So I figure I should share them as well. So the first little tip is create an inventory, right? If you're going on a no-buy or low-buy for makeup or skincare or hair care, whatever it is that you're trying to like buy less of, spend less on a Saturday afternoon when you would usually be binge watching first impressions and Sephora hauls and trying to figure out what it is you want to buy, don't do that. And instead, take a moment to create an inventory. You can do it by hand on a piece of paper. I personally am something of a spreadsheet bitch. Like I love having a solid spreadsheet. Something about those like columns, rows, the organization, like chef's kiss. Just like sit down with all your stuff, bring it all out, KonMari style, just like take all of it out of its places and go through everything. Create an inventory. The inventory can be as like vague or detailed as you want it to be. The most bare bones version of an inventory is you just saying something like blushes -31. Or you could get like ultra fancy where you list out every single blush by name, maybe you even sort them into color families, maybe you even look up the retail values of all of those blushes and add them up just to remind yourself of how much money you've spent in the past on blushes, if like financial motives are one of the main reasons why you're going on a no-buy year. Maybe you do a picture inventory, you do a flat lay of each section of your makeup collection or your skincare collection or whatever, and you take a photo of it. Whatever floats your boat, however you want to do it, create some sort of an inventory. Having a sense of all of the stuff that you already have, of the abundance of it all, is a great deterrent for buying stuff. There is nothing like realizing that you own 7 red lipsticks and you've never worn red lipstick a day in your life to begin to really cut down your desire to go buy Lisa Eldridge's new red velvet lipstick. So that's nitty-gritty survival tip number 1. Let's move on to the second piece of advice that I have, because one thing that I would highly recommend you do declutter, because my God, this saved my life, is your social media feeds. What YouTube channels are you watching? What kind of content do they produce? Ask yourself honestly, is that content maybe triggering you to buy a lot of stuff? Because you know yourself well. You know what convinces you to buy stuff or not buy stuff. There are some people who can totally watch like haul videos and whatnot, and they're completely unaffected by it. I am not one of those people. So for me personally, for my own sanity, like I have made some very like clear-cut decisions around who I'm subscribed to, who I'm not subscribed to, and then even amongst the people who I'm subscribed to, what kinds of videos do some of the people who I adore and am subscribed to put out that I do not watch when I know that I'm like going through it and really feeling the urge to shop. Because I know that they stoke in me, even now, like 11 months into my no-buy year, this like burning desire to suddenly buy a bunch of stuff that did not exist before. So YouTube is definitely one arena where I would like suggest that you maybe kind of go through and begin decluttering your feed. If Instagram is your jam, like this is the moment for you to kind of sit down, reassess who you're following, what kind of content they're putting out, and whether it's like actually helpful to you. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel good? Does it inspire you to play with the makeup that you already own? Does it inspire you to buy a bunch of stuff? Like, what is the impact that each of the people you're following and the kinds of posts that they post having on you? And this might just be the time for you to like KonMari the hell out of your feed. Remove all of the stuff that no longer serves you, that no longer sparks joy. The last social media feed that I think is super duper helpful to declutter, especially for people on a no-buy, your email. I did not realize until like October of my no-buy year just how many email newsletters for different beauty companies I was on. And for me, my email inbox and everything in it, like that was a major source of FOMO. That was a major trigger for me, especially like sale notifications. And so I went extreme. I don't think you necessarily have to do this. Like, declutter based off of your own triggers, what is feasible for you. But like I took myself off of everything. I'm not subscribed to a single retailer of makeup and beauty. So YouTube, Instagram, if Twitter is a trigger for you, Twitter, email for sure. Decluttering those feeds of potential triggers, it made my no-buy just so much more tolerable and easy to manage. You know how people say you can't miss what you never had? That's a scam. You absolutely can miss what you never had. That's literally how people build hype and FOMO and all of that kind of stuff. But you know what you can't miss? A thing that you don't even know is happening. So I just took that philosophy and I ran with it. Instead of living in a state of like constant FOMO that I was aware of all the time, I just unsubscribed from a bunch of stuff, and then I lived in a state of BOMO. Ignorance is bliss, and I lived in the bliss of missing out. My itchy throat is killing me, and I must confess. Oh man, I'm not a good singer on even my best days. That was just bad. Apologies for subjecting you to it, but my voice is really on the verge of giving out, so let's get to the last tip. The last sort of survival tip that I will give y'all, because it is one that it made my no-buy so much more bearable, is find some other hobbies. The key to success, you gotta find something else to do. You've got to find something else to occupy the vast majority of your time that used to be occupied by the world of makeup and beauty and consumerism and shopping. Doing that makes life so much easier. Because I know for a fact that if during my no-buy year I had maintained my YouTube watching habits and my browsing Sephora habits and my watching first impressions habits and my wandering around shopping malls window shopping habits and my obsessively watching new skincare review habits, if I had maintained all of those pastimes at the same level at which they existed prior to my no-buy year, I know that I personally would have failed my no-buy year like 2 months in. I made the decision to start this YouTube channel and it took up all of my free time. It essentially, by like eating up a bunch of my time, forced me to stop engaging in a bunch of those like shopping adjacent behaviors that used to lead to actual shopping before. Finding some hobbies for yourself, figuring out what else it is you can do. Whether it's like you start going to a gym or start learning how to dance or begin painting or read more books or just decide that you're going to actually spend more time exploring whatever city or town that you live in. Whatever you think suits you, find something like that and start doing it. Alright, that's everything. My voice is like really truly dying. I had intended this to be a very short video, but like, here we are, as always. And it's honestly like a miracle that there are people still watching, which reminds me, before I let you guys go, one housekeeping thing. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I hit 1,000 subscribers. I got the news on Christmas Day and I was terribly ill, and I thought I was in like a feverish haze and hallucinating all of it, and I just kind of like went through the motions of accepting everything and hitting monetize. So I don't even know if y'all are seeing like ads on this video or not, but hopefully they'll go up soon because, you know, I have student loans to pay. But I just really want to take a moment to thank each and every single one of you who's been subscribed to my channel and has been watching me throughout the last couple of months. It feels surreal. Like 1,000 people watching little old me making a video in my bathroom of all places. Like, is this the real life? I truly, I don't have words, but I am just so infinitely grateful to all of you that you just sit through all of my rambling and have liked me enough to hit subscribe and just keep coming back. I hope all of you had a great 2019, and you know what? Even if 2019 sucked ass, even if 2019 was not your year, even if you really went through it in 2019 kind of like I did, here's to hoping that you'll have a great 2020. Happy New Year, folks, and as always, I hope you have a great rest of your week. And even if the rest of your week ends up becoming messy or imperfect, hell, even if your 2020 ends up becoming messy and imperfect, I hope that you're still able to create and experience some truly beautiful moments. Thanks for watching. Bye.